Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Paranormal Rangers with Jonathan Dover, Stanley Milford Jr., and Michelle Miners. Hi, everybody. How's it going?
Yeah, we're doing well. Good.
I'm doing well.
It's been a busy week, and some of us have been traveling, and some of us are just having a good time in our homes and doing what we do everyday life with. Any updates on any events that happened in your life as of late?
For me, the paperback version of my book, The Paranormal Ranger, came out October 1st, and they sent me copies of the paperback for me to be able to sign, and take out there into the public. So I'm excited about it.
That's wonderful. What about you, John?
Oh, I'm just practicing being retired here. Got some engagements coming up that I'm going to have to get on the road for. Mm-hmm. And other than that, everything else is going well.
That's great. Yeah, I just got in. I've been on the road, got to go see some wonderful mountain region, the Tetons. Ooh.
Nice.
Yeah, it was wonderful. So, but today we have a very special guest. I would like to tell everybody that he is my business partner. I've known him for 14 years. We have been the purveyors at one time of Skinwalker Ranch. We manage, but he is the Skinwalker Ranch manager. And we started on that project back 9 years ago. And as everybody knows, he's in production, and it has been going on for 6 years, and they are currently filming for the next season. So we're really excited to have Jim Morse with us today.
Hi, guys. Appreciate it. Flattered. Yeah, I'm actually big fans of all of you guys. So appreciate the invite. I'm a wannabe. You guys are the real deal. I've had a little bit of a background as a military police officer when I was in the Air Force, but I look at Stan and Jonathan, and I big fans, Michelle, of who these gentlemen are. They've got hundreds, thousands of hours of experience, boots on the ground. They understand what shape-shifting is all about. So, and I've had the pleasure to work with both of them, and not only professional, but class guys. So honored to see both of them, and thank you so much for the invite.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
We got them fooled, huh?
Yeah.
Well, it is paranormal, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, Jim, it was you who introduced me to the Paranormal Rangers. I wouldn't be here today without your introduction, and we are so happy that we could all three come together as Native Americans to share the stories and to teach people about do not fear the phenomena. And I know you and I worked on the ranch, and John and Stan have been guests on some of the episodes that you guys have done with the filming in past seasons. And it's been a great opportunity for everyone here to be a part of that project at one time. But I want to give you some time to introduce what are some of the wonderful things that you've experienced on that ranch, and we'll interact with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the ranch, as far as location, is out there in the Uinta Basin, really between Roosevelt and Vernal. And it's sovereign. And I've always had a real interest in the Native American culture. Spent more time actually in Navajo land over the years, with a nonprofit, American Indian Services, where we raise about $8 to $10 million a year just for scholarships. But when I was invited to be a part of the Skinwalker Ranch through Brandon Fugel, I thought at one time, because Brandon and I go back many, many years. He was 19 years old. He was just starting in real estate. I've got a commercial real estate background as a developer, and asked him to be my broker at the time. He's done a magnificent job. He's very tenacious, probably without a doubt one of the most best salesmen I've ever been around. I can get in debt all day long, but you got to fill these buildings. And Brandon called me one night before and asked what I was doing at 7 a.m. the following day. And I said, well, really anything you want me to be doing. And we jumped in his helicopter and flew out to the Uinta Basin and landed there on the Skinwalker Ranch, the easement of the Skinwalker, which, there's different stories, but the story from the Utes is that Navajos basically cursed this ground, and they were using the Navajos as kind of infidels, and they were insulted, and then through magic that I'm not sure if you call it black magic, but the ranch was cursed. And unfortunately, I'm probably not as thin-skinned as I would like to be, but for whatever reason, that ranch will attach to me from time to time, especially if I'm going through a little bit of a mood swing or states of depression. And unfortunately, being a military guy, I came out of the service with what they call it post-traumatic stress, and that ranch adapts to me real quick, almost like it's just I'm a moving target. It's very moody, and so I'm very conscientious of my energy. I always ask permission before I go into that ranch, and not trying to be sacrilegious. I say a prayer that I will be protected. But that ranch has taken so many shapes and forms. Hard to get perspective on what's going on from day to day on that ranch. Production is one thing, but now with what we've accelerated it now to where we've got some of the individuals from NASA, 4-star general, and a lot of AI work going on out there. And but the ranch, like I say, people say, well, how do you describe the ranch? And I'll say, I describe it as a fickle woman. It can be very moody, and so I embrace it with care. But there's a lot going on out there that I could share with you in regards to some of the locations, Homestead 2, where we've invited guests out there through prayer. And I've literally watched the temperatures drop from 113 down to where I can see my breath in less than an hour. And with LiDAR, we can actually see like a dark spirit jumping up in a tree and then coming down in front of the house. So, it's again, mystical to me, but the secrets of Skinwalker Ranch is a moving target. And I can see why Bob Bigelow utilized that ranch as he did for investigations. But again, I've had the pleasure to work with Stan and Jonathan and you, Michelle, and you've obviously created an enhancement and additional credibility on what we're doing out there. So, but any questions that you may have, I'm more than happy to try to answer. I may have to lean on the three of you to give me, in some respects, a different perspective on what I'm feeling and seeing. So,
well, I'm going to start here with a historical perspective.
That'd be great.
The romantic story, historically, the Utes and the Navajos had clashes all through history, all through prehistory. So they were traditional enemies. And back in those days, you had to have traditional enemies so that your young braves had somebody to go against to practice the arts of war.
Interesting.
So you would have these little minor skirmishes going all the time with tribes that were in your orbit, so to speak. Now, during 1864, during the Long Walk period, the Utes provided scouts for the U.S. military, and they helped to seek out and round up Navajos to force march them to Bosque Redondo. And so, understand that military service is an honorable thing, and many tribes at one time or another provided scouts. However, in this case, The story that ended up was that when the Navajos returned in 1868, they said that the story goes that they were upset because the Utes had provided scouts for the military, so they cursed the Utes. Now, on the face of it, that sounds, like, wow, that kind of stuff could have happened.
Yeah.
But the reality is that there were groups of Navajos that wanted to go to war with the U.S. military after they came back from the Long Walk, after they had signed the Treaty of 1868. And they were going amongst the people and saying, we need to go to war with the U.S. We need to attack them. We need to do this and that. And Manuelito, Ganado Mucho, and a lot of the other chiefs or the headsmen of Navajo that were representing them didn't like that idea. So they started rounding up some of these people, and the story is that they accused many of them of being skinwalkers.
Interesting. Yeah.
So for a period of 9 years after 1868, people were rounded up and killed.
Oh my gosh.
And they were said to be skinwalkers, close to 40 of them. But if you point your finger at somebody and say they're a witch, so we need to kill them, but they're a political opposition party, then you get rid of that opposition. Now, granted, it was for a good cause. We did sign a treaty. Part of that treaty was that our kids had to go to boarding school, and they were forcefully put in boarding school. But now, in my research, having been to Skinwalker Ranch on several occasions, what I've seen in there and the surrounding area is that there are locations that would be considered sacred or religious locations. And that tells me that the Ute people 700 to 900 years ago, even the Fremont, knew of something going on the ranch there or that location, and were actively trying to suppress it in some way. Now, that doesn't line up with the romantic story. And so I've been telling people that it isn't a curse. What it is something that's always been there since possibly the dawn of time, and that this force, whatever it is, has always been there, and the natives in that area knew about it for hundreds of years, and took active measures to suppress it. So anyway,
that's really insightful. Was that during the Kit Carson time too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 1864 was Kit Carson. What they found out later was that 1863 gold had been discovered in Prescott Valley. And there was a massive gold rush. A military assayer passing through the Navajo land looked at the sandstone formations and proclaimed that land was full of gold. So the military and the government had to find a way to get the Navajos off that land so they could go exploring and find more gold.
Wow.
When they didn't find it after 4 years, they allowed the Navajos to return to their land. So again, that makes more sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's one of the things that on the ranch we're finding is rare minerals, and we're still trying to identify what they are. So, but yeah, that really gives me some insight. So thank you. Appreciate you sharing that.
We like to take a historical approach, but I know that Stan, the title of the show today was The Rest of the Story. And I know today that Stan wants to share a story. Go ahead, Stan.
So really all of my life, having grown up between Oklahoma, where my mother was from,
Mm-hmm.
and Arizona, where my father is from, uh, being a part of both indigenous cultures, they, just like what was mentioned, so far today regarding witchcraft and that kind of thing, there's an element there that is recognized within most indigenous cultures and peoples of the use of medicine men and witchcraft and these kind of things. And uh, I had experienced different types of paranormal throughout my life,
Yeah.
and it continues today. I mean, the appearance of the porting of coins still happens after an investigation that I did in 2009. And but anyway, I had been at my sister's all day yesterday doing yard work, and we went to dinner in the evening when I got done, and so I was coming home late, and on the way home, I was taking one of the back roads that goes to my house, and it's paved and it's a good access road. But about halfway on the road, a vehicle came around a corner, and they were really flashing their lights aggressively. And at first, my lights were already dim, so I didn't know what it was about. But you get livestock and on that particular road, sometimes crossing the paved road, and so I slowed down. And as I came around a corner, there was something on my side, on the right side of the road, and this thing appeared, about 6.5 feet tall, but even at 6.5 feet tall, it appeared kind of hunched over, and it was standing 3 or 4 feet off the pavement, and as my lights hit it, it turns toward me, and I've got some sounds going on in the house. Anyway, this thing appeared like straight out of the movie Nosferatu, the vampire Nosferatu. This thing had, most notably, a mouthful of, its mouth was open, and it had a mouthful of sharp teeth, and it had big eyes, and it looked directly in my direction. But yeah, it took whatever this was in the form of a classic vampire-looking thing, and it was just out of the blue. I wasn't thinking about anything paranormal, or I was pretty worn out from the day, because But so with me, these things out of the blue, I'll have these kind of experiences. And after that experience, I got on the phone later and talked to John, and John reminded me of the precautions and safety things to do in relation to encountering these kind of things. And but it's usually, just one of those matter-of-fact kind of things. After doing the smudging and the protection of my home, and that night I slept like a baby. These things don't keep me up. And but with you, Jim, have you had experiences of the paranormal nature going way back in your life, or and another thing is, once you actually got on that ranch area, John and I and Michelle, we have that sixth sense that we've developed over the years working with this stuff. You can get into an environment, and you can tell that, if there's something negative there's something, that's present. But for you, are you able, at the point that you got where the ranch is. I know when me and John first set foot there, it hit immediately, in
Yeah.
that region. So
That energy. Yeah, there's times that I'll be coming in from Salt Lake and I'll actually feel the energy right around Duchesne. And I'm a big believer of a woman's intuition. I was on the ranch and being in the Air Force and working canines out of Lackland. It was Michelle and I and a caniner one night that we witnessed. And actually, it was Michelle that witnessed the big red eyes on the book cliffs and brought that to our attention. But I've been around. I mean, coming out of the military as an advisor for the state of Utah with Senator Jake Garner, I go in and out of Area 51. I've seen things. I am an experiencer, but I don't know that I have the perception perhaps the three of you do. Energy is a big deal. Frequency, you can be around people and you feel a negative. That's one of the reasons why I do not get around negative people, But as a young kid, I went to school in England. My parents were converts to the LDS Church. And I can remember in 1960, at that time, the church was growing. And we would go into a tavern. We would sublet it for Sunday. And the young Mormon missionaries took my dad aside because he was the bishop and said, hey, we're getting thrown out of our beds. The faucets are getting turned on. The refrigerator doors open. Things are defrosted. And, my dad basically went in there with his counselors and did like an exorcism. Nobody was aware of that. And then that Sunday, there was a convert that was a little bit into the seance and took my dad aside and said, Percy is no longer allowed in this building. And apparently there was a murder that took place. But my mother was very, very perceptive, very in tune, much like Michelle, an empath. And so I grew up around frequency or an acknowledgement or respect, for what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But the ranch, it's a beautiful area, but for whatever reason, I've had more negative things happen on that ranch than I've had positive. And maybe it's my energy, but I'm very conscientious about who I'm around on the ranch. When you guys are on the ranch, I feel very safe. I feel very insulated. And I think a lot of it is due, once again, to your knowledge. But I do not like to be around negative people. I will not be around it. But the ranch has definitely got some oddness, some frequencies out there that I'm very aware of. So, yeah. So I respect for what you guys are saying.
Hey, Jim, one of our audience members says, Jim, what are your theories of the ranch?
My theories?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Bob Bigelow, before Bob Bigelow, there was a history there with the Myers and where, and some of these people on there, they were real cattlemen. And, they'd wake up in the morning where their fingers were pricked. They had dogs chained outside. I think that ranch, for whatever reason, whether it be a burial ground out there, suicides out there, I'm not sure what it is. As Jonathan said, it goes back, hundreds of years, that energy out there. But I'm very respectful of it. I do not take it for granted. But it's not a ranch, as I've told people when I was managing the ranch, it's not for the faint of heart. I've witnessed and I've hosted people out there, natives out there, that will not come back on that ranch with an invite. So I'm conscientious about the energy out there. I'm respectful of the Uinta Basin, but as you, Michelle, you've interviewed over 400 people. I probably haven't interviewed that many people, but 3 out of 5 people that I talked to have had an experience out there, whether they've seen an orb or a UFO or an experience. So, where there's smoke, there's fire. And it's not just one, and these aren't just wannabes. These are professionals. These are business people that I've grown to have lots of respect for. So, yeah. But the ranch is very unique. And I've had close friends before it got classified to the levels that want to come on the ranch. And I'd say, I got too much respect for you. That's not a place for you to be visiting.
You know, Jim, the ranch has always been classified as a negative entity.
Yeah.
I know that you and I have had, and with a group of other people, had a positive experience when we decided to bless it, and we were guided to release some of the spirits that were there, and that day ended up being very positive. And, and in the clouds, do you remember that there was an insignia, and it was one of the parties that the Palladians were there to assist, and when all the birds and the wildlife came whooping out like warriors, that was a magical time.
Yeah, that was not a figment of our imagination. That wasn't, all of us out there having too much fun and partying. And I did in hell, but the reality of it is we were very stationary. We were there for a reason, and that happened, and I witnessed it. I don't allow myself to get in and let my imagination run wild. I try to be as present as I can when I'm out there in that space. It's not a space to be out there and being silly about what's going on, because it will attach to you. It's like a negative. Being around somebody negative, it'll rub off on you. It's like a relationship. So yeah.
Hey, John, this question was for you from the audience. Do you think that the curse has anything to do with the ranch?
Well, I think that geographic area has always had activity there, all the way back to the Fremont culture. I've talked to Travis Taylor about that subject and told him that according to Nikola Tesla, there is the 369 theory, and you can look it up online yourself. The 369 theory posits that there's energy, frequency, and vibration. And if you knew how to use those elements, you could do literally anything. They're magical. What you have on the ranch is you have energy. There's something in the mesa. Everybody thinks it's a battery. I think it's a capacitor. A capacitor can hold power or energy and release it under certain circumstances. And when it releases things, people get injured. So you have energy, you have frequency, you have 1.6 gigahertz that keeps popping up all the time. I'm told that frequency is reserved for Earth to space communications for NASA. So you have frequency. What they don't have yet is the amplitude or the vibration to do something with it. And so right now, the portals that are showing up, the things that are happening are random, and we don't have any control over it. So there's that. There are, you'll have to wait for a further episode of Skinwalker Ranch. I can't disclose. I'm under an NDA, so I can't disclose. But there is an episode coming up where some of that will be discussed.
Yeah, interesting. I know I have people from time to time will ask me, and I said, well, till the episode is shown, I really cannot disclose. And I'm really enjoying what I've been asked to do now. For years, I managed it. Now I have the opportunity to get out there and do outreach and go to 4-Star Ranch and, just people out there in the basin who lived, witnessed. And like I say, there's a lot of mysteries, a lot of secrets out there in that area, but it seems to be highly concentrated on Skinwalker Ranch. So I whenever I know you guys are going to be on the ranch, I almost want to be a little bit of a parasite or a predator and just kind of be a tag along, drag along. So I really admire the three of you and what you're doing. You got great synergy.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're professionals.
One thing I've noticed is that during the time that John and I conducted investigations on the Navajo Reservation, there were places like what is known on the reservation as Satan Butte, which is out south of the Chinle region,
Okay.
and there's other places that John has talked about and visited, like Sedona. And so with that, what John and I found in our investigation, like Satan Butte, was that there was a lot of the similarities and phenomena between that location and the Sherman Ranch or Skinwalker Ranch location, which happened to be on the same longitude too,
right.
which was actually really interesting.
Yeah.
But a lot of different phenomena, and you hear people talking about ley lines and things of that nature, and there will be similarities on locations really around the globe. And so I was just wondering what about your thoughts related to locations elsewhere besides the ranch that have for the phenomena.
Well, it's funny, these ley lines that you talk about, how many of these cattle mutilations are along these ley lines. And Michelle and I both have investigated and witnessed, some of these cattle mutilations that are pretty hard to unexplain. When we first got asked to go on the ranch, we sat down with families, members that, and these were credible people. These were engineers. These were young guys who were out there moving the water lines at the time, and there was no blood. This was not a figment of their imagination. This was real stuff. Again, I was never of the level of both of you, but as a military police officer, I had a little bit of training when it comes to investigations. And, after a while, you get to a point where you read people's body language. And the people that we interviewed, these were real, whether it be business people, credible people, and in some cases, it was almost as if they had post-traumatic stress. They did not want to talk about it. So that ranch, like I say, is full of mysteries, secrets. Some of the people that have been invited out there, that are out there, unfortunately, I've seen some of their lives change, and not for the good. Right. So, again, I try to shield myself. It's not a place that I want to spend 24/7 on. But to be out there with one of the three of you or the three of you, I feel very safe. It's a safe harbor for me. And I'm one of those guys, I always learn from all three of you. So I'm putty in your hands. Let's just put it that way. So
thank you, Jim.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Jim, we talk about the energy as a negative. There are things within us. When Dr. Segala and I worked on observing the phenomena in the Uinta Basin, and the things we used to inquire about, is this environmental? Is it us being in an environment that creates a lot of this phenomena?
Yeah.
But what we found was it was the person. And we have talked about this before on some other shows, but we found that the interactions of who we are and how we relate to the phenomena, the environment, very much how it shows up. And so this weekend when I was up in the Tetons, I had a profound experience. A big black bear 25 feet away from the car, I stayed in the car, crossed my path, and then it turned just slightly to the left of my left, and I rolled down the window and it stopped, and we locked eyes. We locked eyes, and it's like I had this animal moment with a spirit with an animal, and like Stan said, he got a really good night's sleep. So did I, and I regarded that as bear medicine. And we have that ability to do that with nature, in nature. It's, in that way, that's a phenomena. Stuff. So that was an experience I had this weekend.
Yeah. You know what? You know how, let's say, dogs, a dog can approach an individual, and that dog can get a sense of that individual uh, without having any prior experience
Yeah.
between the two. And these animals have that sense of being able to read people, and sometimes dogs will be aggressive against somebody that maybe is a violent person,
Yeah.
but these energies, in my opinion, these energies can also sense that about an individual, and
Yep.
kind of read that individual. And if a person has to be, just like what you said earlier, Jim, is if that person is a negative person, a hateful person,
Yep.
really an evil person,
Yeah.
these energies can sense that, and it'll react to that.
Yeah.
Me and
Yeah.
John going into some of these places where you have human remains and things like that.
Mm.
We would always be respectful, whether it's a ruin from like what he said, Fremont time, or Anasazi, or these different time periods. We would always be very respectful going into those things, and for the most part, yeah, you could hear voices and things like that, reacting to us, but it wouldn't do so in a negative manner. And
Yeah. You bet. I appreciate you saying that, Stan. I have found that with children. Little children have
yeah,
almost a perception of your elderly people, animals. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I was one of the founders of a drug rehab center here in town called Recovery Ways. And when I would see, unfortunately, it's a judgment-free zone with me, but when I see people that are delusional due to drugs or alcohol, and again, judgment-free zone, we all have our issues, but they almost distill that uncertainty, that negative. And so, call me boring, but boy, as Michelle talked about, being back in nature, Mother Earth, and having an appreciation for, a clear sky, or a beautiful mountain, as she was alluding to, the Tetons. You embrace that wholesomeness. And unfortunately, Skinwalker Ranch, over the years, is people have been attracted to the negativity of it. And I think it's enhanced itself, whether it be with radiation or, people that are looking for trouble, whether it be in Homestead 2. We had a local and I don't know if I should say his name or not. It's already been posted, but he was out there 8, 9 years old, rabbit hunting. The weather changes, the patterns change really fast out there. He went down to Homestead 2, and through his peripheral, he saw something go by. And whatever this was, this shapeshifter, and I want to be very respectful, not to be sacrilegious by using the word skinwalker, but it haunted him until he left and went to college. He came back and it started all over again. Well, he had never been back on the ranch until we invited him back, Roland McCook. And this guy he's a man's man. He's an educator, and he very traditional. He asked permission. He smudged. But as we took him around to the south side of that, he literally collapsed. Here's a grown man, a man's man. His arms are bigger than my legs, and teared up, And so respect is a big deal to me. Respect the culture. But I'm not out there to take it lightly. Like I say, I walk very gently out there, and call me a prima donna. But there's been times that it has attached to me, and I have to refer to Michelle being very perceptive. Some of the things that have happened to me where I've been haunted, and I have to really embrace her and thank her for being so concerned about my well-being and your guys' well-being. So the unity that you guys have, the three of you, I'm in awe of it. I'm nothing but respectful of the three of you. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet.
Get that.
So, but no, there's a lot of things that go on in that ranch, whether it be on a personal basis or other people, things that we cannot talk about. We're under as Jonathan said, we're under a very tight NDA. Mm-hmm. But because it is sovereign and located where it is, and now that we have NASA and some of the people out there, some of the things that we're doing out there with AI and drone work, is above my pay grade, but it's really interesting. But again, where there's smoke, there's fire. I've talked to too many people out there, legitimate people. This is not a figment of their imagination, whether it be orbs or UFOs or satellites. It's real. It's real stuff.
Hey, Jim, I would like to announce to the public that it is not an open. People are constantly asking to get on the ranch.
Yeah, it's classified now. Jonathan comes on, Stan comes on. You know, literally, you go to this set, and then after you get through shooting, you're off. You know, it's not a place to be wandering around. It's not a tourist. It may be a tourist attraction, but you're not invited on the ranch. Unfortunately, it's changed hands. And there's a liability out there, whether it be with insurance, and you can get hurt out there, unfortunately. So, yeah, it's a closed book.
Yeah, I believe Travis received radiation burns to his hand and his face.
You bet.
One of the other cast members had tremendous swelling in the dermis of his head.
Yep.
And it was hospitalized for that.
Oh yeah.
And other things that just haven't been put out there for information. So there is
absolutely.
There is danger there. Things can go south really fast.
Yep.
And everybody out there wants a Disneyland ride where you get in and I got scared, and but everything's actually all right because it's Disneyland. Although last week they had somebody go through the haunted mansion and ended up going to the hospital and died. But I don't think it was because of the ride. I think it was something in their previous medical history.
Right.
But at any rate, it's not a ride to go on, and it's not safe in some instances.
Right. It's not a playground. It's what's funny is you can get on that ranch and it'll be a week or 2 weeks or a month later, a year later, and all of a sudden something will conjure itself up. And there's been times when you've been out there, Jonathan, with some of your what do you call it? I know that trying to be respectful of your culture, sometimes they don't like to be called medicine men, spiritual leaders. But the evening I was out there with you, my spirit basically told me I do not want to go out to Homestead 2. And I wasn't trying to be disrespectful to your guest and some of the people you had out there. But the reality of it is I kind of listen to spirit now. Maybe it's because I'm getting a little older and I'm trying to grow a little bit older with a little bit of grace, as opposed to just free fall and think that I'm all that. I'm fearless. But the evening that I left the ranch, and I was tired. And again, I being a serviceman, not that I was ever a tough guy, but I shot some weapons, and there was only 3 of us in the Air Force that shot this weapon. It was a top secret weapon. And from time to time, it haunts me, to be candid with you. And the car in front of me hit a deer, and the blood just flew right back. And immediately I had a little bit of a deja vu. And if it wasn't for Michelle being in tune with me, it was not good, So I'm very conscientious about, again, my environment, who I'm around, and you pick and choose your fights. The ranch is not a place that I want to pick a fight with. So I'm pleased to come on and be a part of your show this evening, but it's nothing to brag about. So it's very humbling to me, to be candid with you. So.
You had mentioned attachments that you had experienced.
Yep.
Well, that particular location up there at Vernal, a number of the people that have worked on the ranch region and area have also experienced those attachments, and so as a word of caution to the general public, sometimes in different locations, you got to really be careful going into those locations because, as John mentioned earlier, the Fremont culture and these other cultures that have civilizations that have lived and breathed and on those locations for thousands of years, some of them, and people have lived and died, and they've also practiced different things throughout the years. And so in modern times, when we go into these locations, we just have no idea of what has occurred, in that location.
Yeah.
Some people today will purchase a home and they later find out there's spirits there in the home and things of that nature, and simply because they have no idea what has happened within that space. And so at times, depending on where we're at, not to instill fear in this, but to be cautious, because what we encounter physically in front of us, there's more to the universe and the world than those things, than what we can see. And sometimes with other senses, we pick up on those kind of things. And but sometimes we have to be careful.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. As I sit and talk or visit with you guys, I'm a firm believer there's negative and positive in this life. And I choose to be around people that can raise their vibration and be positive. We all have our ups and downs in life. That's called the journey of life. But I actually, spending as much time as I have in Navajo land, I actually was invited by one of your presidents, and I'll say his name, President Joe Shirley. And out of respect, I went up to a peyote ceremony up in Lukachukai, and having a little bit, even though I don't get into organized religions, I do have a background, my parents being converts. So I was pretty superstitious, actually kind of wary, but like messing around with a Ouija board. And I've got my own story on that too. But I went in there that evening. I was very, very respectful, and they would speak Navajo, and then they would repeat in English so I could understand what the ceremony was all about. And maybe I just drank a little bit too much coffee, broke up the word wisdom a little bit too much. And so I asked the president, I said, geez, is there any way that when the drum stops, can I go out counterclockwise and maybe, relieve myself? And he says, well, Jim, I'm going to be serious about this. Be conscientious and careful about the energy outside this hogan. And he was alluding to, again, this shapeshifter.
Yeah.
And they shared some stories with me offline and one of the guys actually worked for Hires, Coca-Cola, and he'd be going through the res at, 60, 70 miles an hour and look to the right of him and see something running the same speed. He'd pull over and being somewhat of innately a tracker.
Yeah.
It would dissipate. So, like I say, where there's smoke, there's fire. And I've been around enough of this where, your paranormal, your background, your X-Files is so unique. I don't think there's anything like it. So, sign me up. I love being around you guys. I'm always flattered. And you're not showboats. You're the real deal. Really, I've told some of the Matt Croco and some of the guys that promote the show, if you want some substance, you've got to invite the Navajo Rangers on there. So anyway, I'm flattered to be on your show this evening. So
thank you, Jim. I was going to make a reference to what Jonathan that said earlier about it's been kind of under wraps with the Fremonts, but they also depicted on two petroglyphs up in that file that shows that there's interactions with either the deities or you can see one coming out, and I wish I had put it on the media assets to show people that there is a looking petroglyph of a spaceship with an alien coming out of there. And
absolutely.
And we explored that. John's explored that. Stan, have you been up there to 9 Mile to explore these petroglyphs?
Yeah, I've seen some of that. A good friend of John and I, Clifford Mahudi, who's since passed, recently, he would make reference to these pictographs and petroglyphs that depict something that looks like what we know as a UFO or some type of craft, and he spoke of it that way, him being very familiar with his tribe's medicine and the culture there, and with the Zuni and even the Hopi people and even Navajo. So, but he would often make references to these images that we come along and see. So, yeah, I think there's something to it, definitely.
Yeah, in that area near the ranch, there are petroglyphs put up by the Fremont people.
Mm-hmm.
And they say that the Fremont have been there for about 1,000 years ago.
Wow.
Now, the thing is that I have personally seen petroglyphs in that area that look like mastodons, and they look like dinosaurs. And when you look at them, you go, that can't be possible.
Yeah.
But there they are.
Yeah.
So,
you bet.
so you know, and what science tells us is that, North America was only 15,000 years ago.
Absolutely.
But Navajos have stories going back 50,000 years.
Wow.
To historical things like meteor strikes, and so we've been around a lot longer than science says we have. And now they're finding, they found a body in China that looks like it could be over 100,000 years old.
That's right.
That's amazing.
So
they're saying that even the Caliente tribe is 20,000 years old plus.
So those numbers are starting to change. And just so people understand, everybody out there, when Stan and I are invited to go to the ranch, we take precautions. We pray, we smudge ourselves, we have the intention to ask for protection.
Yeah.
And then when we get done, we'll smudge ourselves again and pray again. So it's something that we do, and when I pray in the name of Jesus. So
interesting. Yeah.
But the intent is there that it protects me.
Yeah, I like that.
Now, everybody, we all have our protection methods and utilize them. And for the audience today, we want to say thank you for being here. The show just goes just like that every time. We just get the tip of the sword, and we have so much to share. But we appreciate everybody being here. We appreciate our guest, Jim Morse, for being here on the show this week. And we look forward to having you guys come back next week. Thank you for being here.
Like taking a drink out of a fire hydrant, but I enjoyed. Thank you so much for doing that. I say embrace it with a lot of respect, and appreciate getting one of you guys. So thank you so much.
And go out there and get.
Thank you, my rainbow family.
We'll hopefully see you guys soon. Okay.
All right.
Bye bye now. Have a great evening.